Hi, my name is Robert LeVertis Bell. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Michigan in American culture. So in prison, I started a micro-salon late last year called Church, and I'm going to talk about why I think that small-scale intellectual gatherings, informal intellectual gatherings like this church, are important to create and maintain, even in an era of web forums and MOOCs and the like. So recently, I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, and there was an interview with the author Simon Rich. He said something like, wouldn't it suck to be one of those people who spent a long time just learning and knowing things? Because now we have Wikipedia, we have JSTOR, we have various academic databases, the Google Books Project. We have the vast majority of all that's been ever published in the English language right at our fingertips, and in many other languages as well. In addition, we have this whole other realm of discourse in social media, the ability to share articles and communicate about ideas in real time. Just in terms of the written word, we've seen all these statistics about how there's 10,000 typographical equivalents to the novel War and Peace, put together every single day, every 6 seconds on Twitter. So, but you see, it hasn't exactly worked out like that. We get, sidetracked by all this, all our clicking. We are basically laboring in obscurity, laboring by ourselves. And so it hasn't worked out. The discourse has sort of advanced, I think, as far as it can, in my experience, because, we have these digital humanities, the social media and so forth. But there's so many ways that it seems that our discourse can be stifled by the sheer magnitude of the material at our disposal. We have the proliferation of topics that we should know about. There's this issue of filter bubbles. The author and activist Eli Pariser, among other information activists, has talked about these filter bubbles, and this is sort of an illustration of that right there. There's this mechanism in place on various internet searches that sort of aim to tailor the way the user experiences the world, in a sense sort of providing the user experiences that don't they correspond to their worldview as opposed to challenging it or broadening it. This Mark Zuckerberg quote puts it, I think, pretty succinctly. A squirrel dying in front of your house may be more relevant to your interests right now than people dying in Africa. Well, and then we have this whole issue of trolling. There are trolls all over the place on the internet. Online discussions, they're troll-ridden, they're unpleasant. When we're not engaged in coarse disagreements that are allergic to nuance, we're just sort of trying to get along and avoid the trolls. Conversely, sometimes we find ourselves in a different situation where we have these, what I like to call niceness ghettos, where we avoid difficult conversations with our friends for the sake of just avoiding the risk of being either unpleasant or enriching. And so we avoid enrichment and we avoid unpleasantness by just going along to get along. But the main problem I see with all this stuff that we're learning about is, again, that we're isolated. The online discussion never has the valence or the fun of, say, a dinner party or a salon. Now, people are always talking about bringing back salons. People have been bringing back salons for centuries. We talk about, the Parisian salons, the atmospheric conviviality of learning and discourse. And all that, I think, doesn't ever go away. There's the Parisian salons. There's also a great American tradition of salons. Mabel Dodge's Fifth Avenue apartments in Greenwich Village, where Emma Goldman and Gertrude Stein came together and talked. Now, I'm not rich enough nor cool enough to be Mabel Dodge. But I think there's a lot of her example in what we're trying to do with what we call our church. Mabel Dodge, plus mimosas, plus Facebook, plus some Reddit perhaps, and that's sort of what we're trying to do. We get together on Sunday mornings, and we just, the first Sunday of every month, and we bring our mimosas, we share readings prior to the gatherings, and we discuss things out in the internet forum before, so we're sort of primed when we get there. And then we all get together and we have, it's a brunch potluck. We eat our pastries, our foods, drink our mimosas, and we just have a really wonderful discussion, sort of trying to maintain, like I said, that environment of atmospheric conviviality. But with FaceTime and in an environment where real disagreement can actually be fulfilling. Not that these are debates per se, but they're environments where people can feel free to disagree with each other and still walk away from it, loving each other. Because I think a lot of the thing that makes this group sort of interesting is a lot of us already we sort of know each other and love each other ahead of time. And so we're in an environment where there are no trolls. People who disagree are disagreeing with you because they like you. So far we've talked about conspiracy theories. We've talked about nanotechnology. We talked about pornography, transhumanism. We even had an illustrative talk about Rudolf Steiner. Now, the Steiner example is illustrative because here you have this Austrian philosopher, a 20th century Austrian philosopher, and several people in our group of friends, people who see each other all the time, live their lives by his example, by his ideas. They're dedicated to him and they think that he is great. Others in the same group of friends think that he's a racist occultist quack, and that people who listen to him are following a cult. And yet we were able to get along with each other and have a really wonderful, enriching discussion where everyone was able to, I think, find a lot of middle ground and understand each other because there were no trolls. We all came into the discussion based on love and the idea that we can sort of build community through what brings us together, what we love in each other, as opposed to the things that coming into a disagreement thinking that we have to defend our honor or otherwise insult the others. So this is what we've been doing with church. It's been a really fun project. We've been doing it for, I think, 7 months now, and hopefully we keep it going. I've talked to a few people in other cities about putting their own together. A couple other ones are thinking, people are talking about starting new ones in this city. And I was just thinking it'd be a really fun idea to not every week, but to some weeks, sort of have an environment where all these different gatherings, we're able to talk about the same thing. People in the same city talk about the same thing for an entire month. And that just seems like the sort of community I want to live in.